Morning. How we all doing? Dear Mr. Vernon, we accept the fact that we had to sacrifice a whole Saturday in detention for whatever it was we did wrong. And what we did was wrong. But we think you're crazy to make us write an essay telling you who we think you are. The other way around. What do you care? You see us as you want to see us. You see us as a brain, an athlete, a basket case, a princess, and a criminal. Correct? There's a decent chance you've heard those words uttered by a young Anthony Michael Hall in John Hughes' incomparable film, The Breakfast Club. In the world of cinema, when dealing with teen angst, raw emotions, and the trials and tribulations amongst adolescents, it really was the first of its kind, and to date, unmatched. An epic film portraying teenagers feeling trapped, locked inside themselves, desperate for anyone to understand them, while all the adults in their lives seem completely unreachable. I've seen this movie countless times, and when going through similar thoughts as a teenage kid, I longed for the day when those feelings would finally be released. I would grow up, aware, confident, and finally comfortable in my own shoes. Unfortunately, years later, some of these same feelings, same anxieties, and similar confusion linger and just keep hanging around. You see, in some ways, perhaps we never truly grow up, and emotions containing fear, anxiety, and expectations of social confirmation continue to rage on. I worried about speaking today for a host of different reasons, one of which is how it would come across, and if there was a real message or takeaway behind my ramblings, case in point. And days ago, to complement that nervousness, Lewis Evans approached me and said, "Hey, yo, Campbell, when you talk, your delivery, it's weird. Not weird as in crazy, it's just different. Anyway, I thought you should know." Thank you, Lewis. So yes, that certainly crossed my mind last night and into today. But going back to my original point, working with youngsters and going through the motions of teen life often gives me pause and lets me recognize how similar a lot of us are, regardless of age. How, you ask? Well, I'll speak for myself. Like a lot of teens, I need attention at all times. And I always want to talk. When the weather is nice, you may have noticed my undeniably spectacular array of footwear. Casual, colorful, charismatic, suede. Sure, I fancy shoes, and dapper kicks are a fascination of mine. Now, I have no clinical background in the realm of psychology, but if I had to break down my psyche, I know exactly why I want to have shoes that catch the eye. On the topic of needed attention, nothing draws more attention to someone than what they are wearing. And my magic kicks are the ultimate icebreaker for any conversation. Nice shoes, Mr. Campbell. You think so? Yeah, those are sweet. Thanks. Hey, how have you been? And the conversation rolls on. There's no need for small talk or anything. The shoes, they just do all the talking. It's great. On another level, like a lot of people your age, I want people to listen to me and hope that the things that I have to offer to others are important. When I wax lyrical about Chicago sports, Pearl Jam, or my Heisman Trophy predictions, I feel like people are with me on it. Even if it's just a head nod with no smile, clearly an indication to speed up my mindless banter and put an end to the discussion, it's right there. Folks like Waters, McVeigh, and Foley are always nice to let me air out my thoughts in that way. And the poor guys are just helplessly waiting for me to stop talking. My thirst for knowledge is as real as it is for you. And I continue to learn from others in this community. We're lucky that there's consistently an influx of ideas and beginnings to absorb at Brooks. Whether it's a winter term reminder every year of the power of positive thinking, or the captivating and alarming video Kenza showed last week for Amnesty International, the soaking in of new ideas and information on any views is never ending. Like you, I seek reassurance on all things I do or the things I say. I'm always curious if my approach to dealing with people is the right one. Is the direction I'm giving too hard, too light, too personal? And are students truly picking up what I'm putting down? As a coach, trying to get the best out of an individual, all the meanwhile trying to build character and perspective, can be really challenging. And often, the way I react or the things that I say, I may later question in my own mind and revisit those with the student. Like you, I cherish opportunities to talk about my own views and personal experiences. Yet oftentimes, the answers are not as complex as dazzling as one may hope for. Mr. Campbell, how did you know when you wanted to work at a prep school? Well, I didn't. I didn't begin my educational career until I was 31 years old. Mr. Campbell, do you believe in God? I do. But I was raised with no religious background whatsoever, never really went to church. And to this day, I mumble during the Lord's Prayer because I don't really know the words. Mr. Campbell, how did you know that Mrs. Campbell was the one? I didn't. But when I walked in, I'm getting there, I promise. All right, let's recover here. I didn't. But when I walked into a Chicago bar 13 years ago, made eye contact, and a magnetic force drew me towards that person, I knew I had to talk to her. Shade of my face is the color of my red shoes that I wear sometimes now. Do you and Mrs. Campbell believe in all of the same things? Well, some, I suppose, but not all. But we believe in each other, and that's all you really need. Right, 2 points. But more than anything, when it comes to some of the similarities I've mentioned, the most important item is that I, too, need people. Of course, Mrs. Campbell is who I turn to the most when I need someone to lean on. I need the support of my faculty peers, and I cherish spending summers with the lads that I grew up with. But it never ceases to amaze me what speaking to a college advisee, bouncing ideas off Ford Hatchet, or sitting with Ikenna for 15 or 20 minutes does for my day. The reality is at Brooks is that as much as students at times need consultations from adults need boy, did I lose that one. Need consultation from an adult. Faculty members need the same advice and support from students. We learn from students. Your various approaches to your lives and what you bring to the table. Those are all the reasons that we're involved in this level of education. I really didn't feel that way when I first started working at a prep school. Prior to Brooks, I had a good experience working at Hotchkiss, made some decent relationships, and did my job the way I felt it should have been done. But it wasn't until March of my family's first year here when a tough time led to the realization that I'm referring to. Few of you were here, and many of you might not remember, in March of 2013, when our daughter Bailey fell critically ill. Worry, confusion, anger, very serious conversations in the household were all part of our normal day. There were frustrating nights at Boston Children's Hospital, lying there crammed next to a 3-year-old girl, staring at the oxygen saturation levels, hoping they would somehow rise. Many in the community tried to comfort Diana and I, and we felt very lucky to be here at the time. But our interactions with adults and students were quite different. As adults, and particularly those that are parents, we have a tendency to try to fix things. It's a natural reaction that I'm certainly guilty of as well. Sometimes the knee-jerk reaction to dealing with a difficult situation is to try to help or solve the problem so everyone's discomfort just drifts away. People care and are just trying to help, and we were certainly aware of that. But what felt more real than anything was a simple, "How's it going today, Mr. Campbell?" followed by a conversation about something, anything, but what was in my head at the time. Now, as agonizing as that experience was for obvious reasons, it may have felt near impossible to deal with were it not for you guys. Without dorm chats, baseball games, the talks of seniors going off to college, and also a 2-week-old infant named Riley that miraculously slept through the whole deal. Who knows if we would look back on it the way that we do right now? For it's the times with students, working with students, and watching you grow that can give us strength as adults. The prep school life starts as a job, perhaps a better life for your family while being involved in high school education. But because of the size and nature of our school, it's impossible to ignore what you students mean to us as people. Now, I've had a version of this speech for about a week or so, and after what occurred last weekend, I've struggled with its content. When choosing Brooks, both you and your parents made a number of different sacrifices, so you have the chance to attend an independent school. And with that does come a certain set of rules in place and guidelines that we are tasked to enforce for your safety and for your protection. There really is no way around that. And these are the times that can be the most difficult for both students and faculty alike. But what doesn't change is the advice, comfort, and strength we can continue to draw from one another through the conversations and interactions that we continue to have. As you heard in the reading moments ago, even youths will grow tired and weary, and the young will stumble and fall. People make mistakes, and if you've made one, more often than not, it will not define who you are as a person. And there are times where you feel like people are on your case, too hard on you, in your mix about what we think is the right thing to do. And as faculty and as adults, we don't do those things to make you feel bad about yourself. We don't do it because we have all the answers on how to morally and ethically lead a perfect life. We do it for your safety, and upholding the rules and values of our school is what we signed up to do. But we also do it because at some point in everyone's life, he or she will look at their own reflection in the mirror with a long face and say, "Why did I just do that?" Regret is a part of life, and we all live with it in some fashion. But if anything, none of us wants anyone to feel that way about your experience here. We want you here so we can live out those special moments with you, not just for you, but for us as well. Special moments for me, like watching a person like Jack Goodwin go through a tumultuous junior year emotionally, only to grow and come back for his senior year with new perspective, a new focus, and a continued dogged approach to everything he does. A special moment for me, like frantically texting back and forth with Lauren and Mr. Waters while getting my hair cut, trying to obtain last-minute permission for her to go to the Pats game, then having to return to the barber the next day as I failed to pay attention to how badly he butchered my head during the first go-around. Timely moments, like catching Connor Silva, sitting back in his chair on Thursdays in Brooks Beginnings, soaking it in, listening to what his peers have to say, and then speaking objectively, seemingly wise beyond his years. Moments like sitting down with Sophie Bymark in the fall, somewhat pretending to help her with her college essay, while marveling at how anyone could put words like that together to craft their own personal story. And nothing makes me feel luckier than watching the expression on Bailey's face every time she sees Vito, Julia Moore, Emma English, and many more of you on various places of campus. Times like these for me, and the many times that you will have with each other, are what truly make this a special place. So in those moments when you feel alone, like the walls are caving in, and you feel like you're being looked at through a certain lens and categorized as a brain, an athlete, a basket case, a princess, or a criminal, it's okay to feel that way. And believe it, that adults battle similar demons. But here at a school on the lake, we value you for all that you are and not for one label, one instance, one moment, one mistake, or one victory. Because not one thing completely encapsulates all that each of you are individually. And we need you as people just as much, or maybe even more so, than you need us. So as we go along on this ride together, please remember, as the band Morning Parade so aptly says, that everything you are, everything you were, and everything you've been is not everything you'll be. Thanks very much.